no one was clearing on that on a phone.
Who are they actually catering to? Do you feel like they're kind of still struggling with this misplaced identity?
I think they're in a good place. I think they're going to keep attracting Destiny people, which is amazing. I'm going to put them on blast a little bit here. I think they did a horrible job promoting Crota as a raid. The expectations, I mean, after this raid, literally anything's possible, man.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of This Week in Destiny Rising. Man, I haven't said that in a minute. My name is Sax, and I am a Destiny 2 Sherpa and content creator who has fallen in love with Destiny Rising, but I often feel underinformed when it comes to the various gacha mechanics, systems, and character building within the Rising universe. So I started this show so I could talk with some of the top players in the game and discuss the things that confuse or have simply evaded me in hopes that myself and others like you may learn something new with every episode. Well, this week, I'm joined by my friend and one of the Destiny Rising 6 Great Hunt World's First Champions, Antivist. Thank you for joining, man. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on for the show.
Yeah. It was awesome because I have been gone. Obviously, I've been gone from the Rising scene for quite some time. Just had shifted back to D2 and then the holidays, and we'll get into that here in a second. And then I had been gone even longer because our baby arrived. And so with that, I had come back for like one stream. I'm like, all right, let's check out Rising. You popped in there for that conversation. And even before the raid race, we're like, hey, we should talk again. We should do this. And lo and behold, man, you guys did the dang thing.
We did the thing, yeah.
You sure did. So
it was a fun time. It was fun.
Yeah, you guys hopped in there and I want to talk more about the world's first race, and we'll get into that here at the back half of the episode. But I thought it was awesome, the progression and seeing that, and so like I was not really in tune with the race. I kind of had to retroactively go back and watch some VODs and things like that. But going through and just seeing, it was a bit surreal, man. Just seeing that announcement from Destiny Rising. Literally, it was like as soon as I opened Twitter, pop up, and I was like, your name right in there along with that. How did that feel for you when you saw that pop up?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've, since the first raid, they changed a little bit how they announced it. Like in game now, they like force a pop-up for everyone on your server that has like a scrolling banner of like when a team finishes. So the second we finished, we knew we were first in Europe because we hadn't seen the banner pop up yet. And like we saw our names obviously scroll across the top saying number one, our team or whatever, but we still didn't know if we were like first or whatever. Like we thought it might have been maybe someone in NA beat us or maybe China beat us or whatever. But as soon as we saw that tweet, it was just like, yeah,
locked in.
Sick.
So that's awesome. Well, let me get some housekeeping out of the way here, and then we're gonna hop into. So guys, for today's show, here's what we're doing. If you have been a long-time listener, if you're just catching this, maybe it's the first time you've heard Destiny, heard this show in particular, welcome and thank you for being here. However, if you have not ever heard this before, this was a show that I did weekly, starting at Destiny Rising launch. I had about 12, 13 episodes we did weekly where I went through and did a lot of like specific character breakdowns with different top players. And like I said in the intro, it literally was just because I know Destiny, but I know nothing about Gacha. Like I just had no clue. I was just like I felt like a baby deer on ice, dude. I couldn't do anything with it. And so I had to find ways to get good at it because I love the game, but I could see myself. Like I was never topping any kind of leaderboard, any kind of damage board. There's one episode or one thing on my Sax Plays Games channel where it's just like a infamous video at this point where I was side by side with some of the best Gwen players at the time. And dude, I thought I was cooking damage. Like I thought I did incredible damage. And then we looked at the board and I did like 5% and they did like 57 and so it was crazy. And I had no idea. And they took a second to like break that down for me. So that was awesome. But today's episode is, us jumping back into it. So November was the last time that I had a podcast about Destiny Rising that was dedicated to the game. It was about 2 weeks after Maru's launch and when she was released into the game. And since then, we've seen many changes and additions, including additions to the cast of Lightbearers, including Jaren's release. Kabr and Ikora both got tier 5 upgrades, which I want to answer. So I want to get your opinion on that here in just a second, because that seemed interesting to me as someone from the outside looking in. And finally now Affinities, which has come in. So I feel like there were quite a few players that, I don't know, I think it was with the impending release of Renegades inside of Destiny 2. It felt like a lot of people in my sphere kind of fell off the game at that time. And I wanted to kind of get your opinion. Do you feel like that was let me back up and I don't want to box you in. How have you felt with like the player population inside of Rising, like from the beginning? I know you've been playing since day one and moving through there. How have you felt with kind of like the roller coaster we've seen?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been noticeable when there's been lulls. Like the queue times for certain activities has always been quite long, and like you'd expect that, like on sort of a weekend, you'd be able to sort of hop in and at least do one of the sort of raid-like activities,
sure, with
a relatively short queue time. But yeah, it was like you were sort of waiting 5-10 minutes, sometimes even, just to get 6 people together for one of those. And sometimes you just wouldn't even get a lobby at all. I mean, I was in a similar boat to you, to be honest. Like when Renegades came out, obviously my focus was on that. I definitely didn't put as much time into the game. I've not been playing it like sort of religiously, as it were.
Sure.
But I've definitely been playing it enough to keep up with everything that's been going on. And yeah, it has been noticeable when the player counts have dropped.
Do you think it's a response to the fact that like this is a mobile first game? Do you agree with that statement actually? Because I hear that from some creators, where namely, and we will get into it here in a few, but like when we talk about the world's first chase, I've heard some creators talking about how, okay, well this is a mobile game, but there's no one who was clearing this on. Who was clearing this world's first thing. So no. It feels like and it's always existed, right? The identity crisis for Rising has always existed on like, is this a mobile game? Is this a game that should just be emulated? Is the emulation factor just a way of them working around some sort of weird contract with Bungie and Sony because they can't have a native platform, a native launcher on these platforms? Like, how do you feel about that? And then just, do you think that is the hindrance that is causing people to maybe put Rising on like a lower peg compared to other games, like always being pulled away?
I mean, I think at its core, it's like, it's more of a hardware limitation than anything. Because I think, I mean, like if you saw the raid, like that could very easily have been like a PC game if they like had the means to make it like that. Like it was, the quality was pretty damn good. And I think it's definitely like a design limitation, because like you say, there was no one was clearing on that on a phone. Like if you could clear that raid on a phone, like
let us know.
Like let us know, man. Yeah, like
let us know in the comments.
That's crazy.
Sure, because
we had like
that would be awesome.
Everyone in the top however many teams was emulating, and yeah, it was hard even for us, like it took 6 hours to clear. It wasn't like some kind of Mickey Mouse thing. Like the first raid that they did, which was took like an hour to clear, which was more like a kind of a prestige mode than anything, because obviously the raid had been out for most of the whole launch as well. It just like got an upgrade for the raid race. I think the raids, they've definitely leaned into the emulation factor of it a lot, because that raid was designed, I think, to be played on emulator. I don't know about the whole legality of it with Bungie and everything, but like it almost it feels like almost akin to like playing, I don't know, it's not like a 1-to-1 comparison, but like Destiny on like a console versus playing it on a PC. It's like they have to adhere to the limitations of that platform, but you're not always going to have people playing on that, so it's, I don't know if it's hindering them too much. Like I think, like you could say there were a few bugs and stuff in the raid that maybe wouldn't have been there if it was like on a dedicated PC platform. But I don't think it's as much of a hindrance as people think it is. But I definitely think it plays like a mental factor in people's opinion of the game and like how they feel about playing it and all that.
I would 1000% agree. I think that the amount of people who are like, well, if this would get an actual PC release, it's crazy to me, right? Because like there's people who will play, like they'll play a Riot game or they'll play something and like they'll install another launcher for that, right? Like they'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you get down to it, like that's basically what the emulation factor is, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
you're signing
exactly.
in and it looks like a tablet or whatever on your screen, but like that's essentially what it is. But people are like, they get so caught up by that. However, recently I tried to go and play Division Resurgence, which came out, and that game is not a mobile game that has been like from the ground up optimized for emulation. Like it runs pretty well, like you can get some things going, but like I don't know if it's something where maybe I need to get further into it. Maybe there's settings that I'm missing, but like I was searching throughout, like you actually have to kind of like click and hold and drag to like move your character around instead of just us having this free flow, right? Like with the mouse being able to kind of whip around how we would on PC. I like probably about 75% like the comparison you made to like the console and PC thing, just because it is one of those things where like I think the top controller players can really hold up with the top PC players, but I think it's a little more akin to PC to the first gen D2 consoles, right? Like the PS4 and Xbox One,
Sure.
like that 30
Yeah.
frame FOV shrinking feeling, and that feels more like the skill gap there. But I do think that there is a psychological piece to everyone who, like if I tell them and I want to get into some of the changes that have happened, because I posted on Reddit and I was just like, before this, I was like, hey, how are you guys feeling about this game? How are you, have you been as reignited to want to play it as I have? Because that was my whole thing. Like when Maru came out, I genuinely love Maru. I thought that season was great. I enjoyed the new like blitz activities we got and a couple other things during that time. And it just was one of those things where like I still like viewership was dwindling. Just my excitement every day logging into the game was dwindling. And then it kind of felt like from the outside looking in, it felt like that was still kind of like dwindling away. Like we had Jaren. Jaren had been rumored for a long time, like, this character that was coming, like the worst kept secret ever. And then it came out and it kind of felt like it just fizzled a little bit. Like I never felt like it really hit in huge strides. We got a little bit of bump up when Crota came out. Like how did you feel around that time? Because I was completely disconnected at that time.
So I'm going to put them on blast a little bit here. I think they did a horrible job promoting Crota as a raid and as an experience. Like they did a decent amount for Jaren, but I think they did so little for Crota and like actually highlighting the race part about Crota that I think it really just like, I don't think it got enough people interested in it, because I feel like it's something that if you're a D2 player, right? Like I know it's Crota again, but like I don't think, and it might be a surprising take, but I don't think it's necessarily a hot take, because I think a lot of people actually agree with me. The Destiny Rising version of Crota is the best version of Crota. It's better than the D2 version. So if you're a D2 player and you want to play the best version of Crota, you should have been playing Rising. And they just didn't do a good enough job, like, just making it well known and public about the whole system that they changed about it and everything. It was just, the raid race was not as public as it should have been. And I think it really had an effect on, one, the people taking part, and two, just like the amount of people that they lost, like potential people that they lost by not capitalizing on it more.
Yeah. What I think a lot of people don't get, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on the channel recently, but like it's the player count conversation, right? Like things coming and going, and live service games, you're going to have dips, you're going to have life cycles for things. Things are going to come and go. But it's what you just said. It's like, hey, you've put all this work on the backside to create this awesome experience, the best, like the quintessential Crota experience. Like this is what it should be. I remember watching, I think it was the same stream that Sparrow had his famous crash out with I don't know if you saw that, but like when freaking out when they choked like right on final stand or something like that. And I was watching that and I was like, first off, like just the fact that you're like being teleported around and all of the different, symbol pieces and stuff, but I can't speak with authority on Crota. because they took it away and it is no longer in the game, which is so dumb to me. And I'm like, I don't know. Have we not learned anything from, like, even if it's something where you're like, hey, we want these rewards to be a little more accessible.
Yeah.
And we want to highlight. That's another thing that feels like a limitation of the mobile platform, where it's like, hey, we have so many assets that are in the game, and trying to compress, keep these things light, do all of this. It's just interesting to see that. And so I'm praying that they find some sort of way to do like a rotator system to implement it. Maybe it's a half season. We're going to have, like, we don't need Gauntlet. We don't need Eclipse in the game still. Like, you know, we should be able to like rotate some things or do whatever. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, if they have to choose, like, I feel like they need to be highlighting the more recent content first, you know? Like, obviously the whole age-old argument of the DCV and everything, which is, in my opinion, complete rubbish. Like, it is somewhat more a reality for a mobile game, where they do have to keep things to a certain size before it gets too much for. And obviously I feel like it's becoming less of a factor as time goes on as well, and you know, devices get more storage and all this kind of thing. But yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. Like, I think Crota should be in the game. It should be in the game. And I think you mentioned it to me before the podcast as well, but like, because Crota isn't in the game right now, if you haven't already obtained it, you can't currently get Symmetry in the game, which is one of the exotics. Because there's like an engram you can do to focus it if you've already obtained it, but you can't focus exotics you haven't already obtained once. So yeah, it definitely feels really weird, and they just get it back in, man. Just get it back in. It's like, it's a great raid.
I agree with you, and I think that the other key too that will be a little different, hopefully, from like the content vault situation that we've seen in Destiny 2 to now, is Destiny 2, they were doing that full engine upgrade, right? So like, anything that was not in the game when Beyond Light launched everything that was in the game when Beyond Light launched had been handcrafted and recreated, right? Like, for that experience. And then anything that's come back has had a team of people going in and like painstakingly working on it. Whereas, assumedly, this is not the case, right? Like, for Rising, them even removing certain activities or certain characters, you know, like having Gwen not in a rotation, like, it's not like they're gonna just loot, you know. It's like, well, the only instance of Gwen that exists in the game now is just the people who got it. It's like, well, we still have that, you know, that's in our back pocket and stuff. So, you know, I'm hoping to see that. So, well, let's get into some of the new additions. I was just listing them off, and so here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to go through these a bit rapid fire, but like, I'm going to stop, kind of just like flow of consciousness here, and if there's anything that really stands out to you, let me know. The first thing, and these are new additions to the game since I last played, because I'm hosting the podcast, and that's the only frame of reference I have. So, you know, I just want to do that. But most of these came with Season 4, like this current season. So the first one and the biggest one was the Pinnacle energy has now been removed. So no more Pinnacle energy. The concept is letting people play how and when they want to. However, it's gone, but it still lingers in the background. I don't know if you've seen that at all, like in the systems of the game. But there's some instances for reference, like Ikora's track, like Ikora's refresh track is still up. Well, one of the things to get like the cards that you can use to get the little special track for Ikora says like spend 60 Pinnacle energy. Well, Pinnacle energy is supposedly gone, but if I go run a couple events and I spend like double rewards thing, it's almost like they've just hidden it in the background. And then I had seen something online where they had turned up like the amount of your Pinnacle energy to like 99999. Like it's like a janky thing in the background where Pinnacle energy absolutely still exists. You just have like near infinite. But how did you feel about this? How did you feel about the Pinnacle energy piece beforehand, and how do you feel now?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good thing. It was obviously I've played some of the other gachas before, and you are always limited by your quote Pinnacle energy in any gacha game you play. But it didn't really feel right for a Destiny game. And yeah, I mean, you were basically just limited on your resources, right? Once you'd done a certain amount of a certain thing, you kind of had to pick and choose what you wanted to do, which again is normally how gachas work. But in a game like Destiny Rising, where it's so heavily sort of tied to, there's lots of different aspects you have to do and like pursue to build your characters out, right? Like there's all the artifacts, there's all the weapons, there's all the materials for upgrading your abilities. And I think because of the nature of it being a Destiny game, you're going to attract a lot more non-gacha players, right? You're going to attract the sort of Destiny crowd rather than people who are used to that kind of thing. So I think if trying to make it like more accessible as a game for people who aren't used to the genre and just want to play Destiny, it's a massive step forward because people aren't going to feel as limited in what they farm for. Yeah, basically.
It almost felt to me like playing off of what you were saying there, where it's like you got to make the decision on like what you're going to do today, right? Like with that amount of energy. But what it felt like for me, I didn't even really feel the cost of the Pinnacle energy or like feel the weight of that system until I got to the place where I'm like, hey, I have this Ning, but I'm trying to figure out how I can push up the leaderboards. It's like, well, you need to do artifact grinding. Okay, well, I get in there and it's like, oh, well, you can only do 120 Pinnacle energy worth of that in a day. It almost felt to me like they should have done, like if they didn't want to completely, quote unquote, nuke the system and get rid of it, but still keep something of that sort, they could have done a thing where it's like you pay a certain amount of Pinnacle energy to get into these grind sessions, if that makes sense. So like if you're staying in, right, like we're in, what is it? Chaos or Singularity Chaos or whatever, you're in there doing those sessions for trying to grind out as many of these artifact materials as you can. It's like, well, if you're going to be in there, like spend some of your Pinnacle energy, but it's the entering where it costs you, not the every time you want to pull from that chest. And then if they had currencies inside of that, but they've just gone away with it. They've nuked it, and it seems like they've really refined, or they've taken like sandpaper to the whole game and they've kind of just smoothed things out. Anywhere there would have been like a line of friction that hit. For instance, I was looking at the Expanse. The Expanse has changed dramatically since I last played, and having it, instead of it being tied to, what was it in the past? It was like specific. It was just like specific element, wasn't it? Like
it was an element and a damage type.
Okay.
Usually tailored to the two most recent premium characters.
That's right.
So
now we got all 4 weapon types, and then in like for basically just think the Shinkas, the 4 different Shinka types, and then we're going through on top of that. You get like 10 to 20, or 0 to 10 is a certain flavor, and then 10 to 20 is a certain flavor, and then 20 to 30. Now is that endless, or is it still up to just that 30 mark?
I think it's actually endless now. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you can push it as far as you want. It was actually, so I think this happened when you weren't playing, but they actually pushed it to 40 previously before this season. So there was a 40 tier as well, like 30 to 40.
Gotcha.
Which obviously was again like another end game thing for people who had the characters to do it with. But again, it was the exact same format of like the element and weapon type, which meant you had to use like one specific character if you really wanted to push it all the way to the end, and you had to have them built like to shit basically. Or you couldn't do it. It was just
every day
damage
optimally using that Pinnacle energy that we were just referencing. And I did have a fun run on the channel where I was just trying to tank everything with Ning, like no matter what the element, whatever the Shinka type was, I'm like, how can I try to get in there? Because I was just having so much fun like running Ning in all activities and stuff. But I've been having a blast. I've been really enjoying. I hopped back on. A long joke here on the podcast is that Yolder is S tier, and that it's just like she just completely overtakes anyone when you put them up against each other. But I was playing with Yolder yesterday, trying to get, I think it was just like maybe it was like a 10 to 20 for the impact or something like that. Or yeah, I think it was impact. And yeah, it's been a good time kind of going through there. Some other little changes that have happened. Our team level cap went up to 90. It's kind of inconsequential, but gives us a little bit of progression there, because we also got new campaign content with an Ahamkara, Cabal, Callus storyline, this Wish thing. But there were two things that stood out to me, and I want to get your opinion on. It exceeded my I feel like the campaigns inside of Rising, they exceed expectations for like what Destiny campaigns are. Like, they're authentically Destiny. They feel that way, but they just completely bypass some of the campaigns that we've had in D2. The second piece was how I enjoyed how the campaign flowed directly from the end of the original campaign. I feel like it's very easy for Destiny, for them to have some light closings and then be like, hey, well, in the lore, if you read the lore books or you check this thing, like, you're going to get that. Like in D2 or, Destiny 1, the stories were really bad back then anyways, other than Taken King. But in D2, they've gotten a little better, but sometimes they don't really close things off because they're like, well, we want you to keep playing. I thought that this was great, right? Like, we got to the end of the Destiny Rising vanilla campaign, whatever you want to say. And then we ended up in this situation where it's like, okay, there's some weird Wish Dragon stuff happening on, Red Sea Drift, but okay, we're not going to get that conclusion here. And instead of them being like, well, that's just a side story, we're going to go completely different direction, thematically, they're like, no, we can tie it all together. How have you felt about the actual rollout of story content inside of Rising?
So I think it's been actually really good for the most part. I agree with you that the new campaign was way higher quality than I ever could have expected. Like the set pieces they put together, the skyboxes, the locations that they use, some of the fights, like the visuals in those, like, excellent quality. Like,
even,
you could easily,
even if they don't signpost what you're actually supposed to be doing, so you're streaming in front of a bunch of people and you can't figure out how the mechanics. Couldn't be me.
No, but like they could easily have been moments in like a D2 campaign. Yeah. Like they're just really, really high quality stuff. I agree that the sort of continuity of it all was definitely really cool. The character story quests as well, I've found, have actually been quite good as well. I actually ignored them quite a lot for the most part because I was just like, I don't get anything out of this. I can't really be bothered to do it. But I played through like Estella's the other week, and it was like actually very, very well written, and the visuals again were amazing for it. So I think people underrate the story content a lot in this game. I think maybe the main campaigns, I think the one complaint you could maybe have is that the rollout was a bit slow. Like, obviously the vanilla campaign was really good and this campaign was really good, but there was like a 6-month gap of nothing between them. So you could argue maybe like putting in like a mission or two, like it's like more like a transitional mission would be like useful. But I also really liked how I find often in Destiny 2 that you can do a campaign and then the campaign will conclude and there'll be like a hint about something to do with the raid. But the raid will sometimes be like in an adjacent way to the campaign, rather than like a continual way to the campaign. Whereas with this one, you finish the campaign, it's like, okay, the next step is do the raid. It's like the raid is the next part of the story. Do it, basically, which I thought was really, really good as well. Because I love when raids are intensely tied to story content. It's why Salvation's Edge felt so good, for example, in Destiny 2, because it's all part of the same story. Whereas you could argue raids like trying to think of a good example here now.
Root of Nightmares comes out to me like that.
Yeah, exactly. So like again, so the narrative of that finishes, and it's like, oh, by the way, while this was happening, laser beam hit a ship, and now Nezarek's back.
Yeah, you remember when the Traveler blasted the Witness's ship? Let's go there for a fun time real quick. Oh yeah, this guy that we've been teasing forever, he just happens to be there and happens to be coming back. Right? Yeah,
exactly, exactly. So yeah, I was quite pleased about that part of it, for sure.
The things that come to mind for me, and I think you, like, to play off your point there, it's like it feels the best when it's a continuation, which would be like the Taken King, right? Having King's Fall come straight from that. Crota's did that a little bit. Obviously, they were continuing the story of what was happening in the Dark Below with Crota's, but that wasn't like a major expansion. Whereas with the Taken King and then King's Fall raid coming out from there, Wrath of the Machine was a continuation, right, of the story from there, and so on and so forth. I definitely agree with you there. Even back to like base Leviathan for D1 vanilla, like all of these. And I think that Destiny's at its best when there is a clear cut villain that we're chasing down. The times where, whether it's D2 or Destiny Rising or whatever, when it's this etheric, okay, you're just fighting the base level ads or whatever you want to call it, like the forces of the Cabal. It's like, okay, well, that's just etheric. But you say, okay, no, we have Callus or we have Keitel before we sided with her. I think back often to, because I try to remember the times like, okay, when has Destiny felt like really, really good? And that Season of the Worthy, Season of the Chosen, that's what it is. Season of the Chosen, when we had Keitel's first introduction, the Scions are trying to assassinate Zavala, all this crap, and then we have to go on to their ship, and we're getting all these new strikes and these types of things, and then I'm like, what was really standing out? It was like we had some other opposing force that was really pushing back on us, and I think that that's something that Season of, what is it? Is this Season of Wishes? Is that what the
I think it's Season of Wishes, yeah.
So yeah, so Rising Season 4, Season of Wishes, having Najoran on the other side and being this driving force of like trying to tempt us the entire time, like, hey, join us, and then all of a sudden, like, nope, we are not, this is not cool, like let's go after it. I think it's a fantastic way.
I think it really adds to like the whole spectacle of it as well. Like if you know that there's been this villain in the background the whole time, like you get a bit of a preview of her in the campaign. Like, spoilers if you haven't played it, but you see like a sort of dark visage of Njoran over the like final mission on arena or something. But then you get to that moment in the raid on that third encounter, and she like tears open the fabric of reality and like pokes her head through, and you see these giant tentacles come on and just start shooting lasers at you. It's just like, okay, yeah. This is sick. Like, this is everything I could want from a final, like, boss villain,
I did not think we were I knew obviously it was going to be an Ahamkara thing, and I knew we were getting a raid with it, but I did not think that we were getting, like, Destiny Rising's last wish.
Yeah, it's essentially what it was, yeah.
Yeah. And so, it's interesting. There's many, many comparisons to make there, and I think the fact that we have such a highly looked at, time in the game with Forsaken in Destiny 2, and then being able to play towards with this, there is some comparison there. It'll be interesting when we get removed, 2-3 months away or even further, if we look back at this time as integral for Destiny Rising as Forsaken was for Destiny 2, right? Because Destiny 2 vanilla started in a very similar way, right? Like started pretty hot, even though there were system changes. We're like, okay, we're not bought into them yet, but maybe we don't understand. People liked Leviathan. And then the expansions after that just like drop off a cliff, right? So like Curse of Osiris, no one really was playing, and we saw, or we felt that. And it was like, oh crap. Well, I mean, I for sure have felt that about Rising over the last, however much. I'm like, man, this has so much potential, but they're going to squander it. Well, here I am again doing a podcast. I didn't know if I ever would feel, positive or encouraged enough to do. And so it's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, I think definitely, even though the game still isn't perfect by any means, and there's definitely still some things that probably need tweaking here and there, I think this update has done a lot of good for the game. And it, at least, even if it doesn't bring a lot of people back into the game, I think it's going to do wonders for like longevity and just keeping people around. Because the system changes they've made, even though you could argue like there's some maybe too much time gating or stuff can be like a little bit too grindy or whatever, but the fact you're not capped by energy anymore, and the fact that they are giving you reasons to keep playing now instead of just logging in and doing your energy and then logging off, I think it is really going to help. And if they keep pushing out like raid quality and like casual content quality of the stuff that they have, I'm going to keep playing. Like, I hope other people would also keep playing, because I mean, if we get another raid like the Great Hunt experience, I want to play it.
Yeah. I've also been pretty surprised about how well they've done this like character rollout. I thought maybe it would get pretty tired quickly, right? Like, okay, we've boxed ourselves into 3 elements and 3 guardian classes, you know, when it comes to Arc Solar Void and Titan Hunter Warlock. And I'm like, how are they going to keep this fresh? It's like, okay, well, you can make this one an Exo this time, or this, you know. I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out. But I've been surprised with like the archetypes that they've been able to bring out, the way that they can make, you know, 2 arc hunters like Ning and Aphrodite like feel different, right? Like, and it's not just about the fact that one uses an SMG, one uses a hand cannon. It's like they do both have, you know, they are hunters through and through, right? Like they have movement abilities and they have, you know, the jump and the way that they're gonna feel to use on the battlefield. But then you actually, like, if I switch back and forth between the 2, they really don't feel, you know, that much alike. They play very differently. Where
very different.
Ning, you're going in and you're just trying to, you know, in my experience, I'm trying to just light up the entire arena with chain lightning as fast as possible and just shred things down. Whereas, you know, you're picking things off from a distance with Aphrodite. And I think it's very interesting how they've rolled out these new characters. Let me blitz through some of these other new changes here, because I don't think that they're going to take as much time here, and I want to we can continue a little bit. So we've had new legendary campaign missions, strikes, Singularity Order, and Gauntlet Blitz stages all added. So like brand new. You always say like, hey, the game needs new content. The game got new content. Like there is new content if you have not played since 2025. If you've not played in the new calendar year, there is a ton of new content to experience. There's new difficulty settings. Like there's an adept variety in just different content in the game. And I'll be completely honest, I don't even understand really. Like I don't feel the difference in those, but it just, you know, they've laid that out.
I think it's more or less just a way for people to keep the content challenging as they upgrade their characters, because the way they've staggered the time gating with like the phases of the seasons, so means that you're going to be somewhat capped at a certain point once you've invested into your characters, and as the further phases unlock, you'll be able to keep boosting more and more, and those new difficulties will then start being the one that you run as a baseline.
Gotcha. And then does that bring your rewards up for a baseline as well?
I would imagine it does, yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, so obviously, like we said, we have a new Gauntlet Onslaught, the Great Hunt. We have Singularity Chaos has been kind of reworked, so you can go through there. They have, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've stripped away the elemental affinities on the artifacts. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I have mixed feelings about the Chaos rework, because obviously before it was borderline miserable, because you had like a 10% chance to get an exotic artifact, and you only had 10 chances a day to get one. And if you didn't get one, stuff you know, that's it. You didn't get any more. You have to wait till tomorrow. Whereas with the new system, they've removed the elemental affinity, which means they're no longer character locked, element locked rather, I should say. And then what they've done now is, before you could use one artifact on as many characters as you'd like. Yeah. And now you have to have separate artifacts for every single character, which makes sense as a change, because of the free farm nature of the activity now. But the thing that makes that feel bad is they have, for some reason, I don't understand this personally, they've locked the levels that you have your artifacts at. So artifact levels are now maxed at 90, but all the artifacts from before this update were maxed at 80. And you could like boost them to 90 if you had the materials to, but mostly they were capped at 80, was like the minimum. And now, because they've locked the levels, any artifacts that you had before this update can't be increased to 90. They are locked at 80, which means in essence, you have to fully refarm all of your artifacts for all of your characters if you want them to be at level 90. Damn. Which is a lot of time investment. And a lot of people are going to be like, I can't be bothered with that. And don't get me wrong, like the level 80 artifacts that you have will still be useful. They're not going to be completely useless, but it's that whole, if you really want to push your character to the highest power level, you are going to have to do this. Yeah. And they've added ways to circumvent the RNG a little bit of like getting the substats you want with like the pyramid dice. I think it's called an amorphous dice, so you can re-roll some of the stats and stuff. But it's basically just increased the amount of time sync you need to do to build all your characters out, and it feels bittersweet because it's great that they made the activity free farming, but at the same time they've increased the work for everyone a lot if you want to stay up to date with it all.
I wonder if that's a consequence of like a couple of systems hitting at the same time, right? Like, so the removal of the Pinnacle system, them bringing them up, them wanting to continue to incentivize some sort of grinding. I do think that it feels bad that you can't, like, if they're going to make it so you can only use that artifact on one character. Now let me ask you this as a clarifying thing. You can swap them between characters, right? They just can't exist on multiple characters. So you can't
you can swap them completely freely. So if you have a good one for Helhest that you want to use on Aphrodite, then you can do that. But it just won't be on Helhest at the minute. It'll be on Aphrodite instead,
which is
you can
annoying.
swap it back.
That's more annoying. I almost wish that they would just, like, if they're going to do it, and I've said this about Bungie for different things, like, if you're going to make a decision, like, make a decision. And it's like they got 1 foot in each camp with it. It's like, if I can move it between, then all you're doing is adding a friction level of me having to remember, okay, what did I actually take off? What was in this slot? Which one is it? Like, you know, because I've had a couple of pieces that I think for Aphrodite or whatever character it is, where I was, you know, I had one for Wolf and one for someone else, and I was like, well, I'm moving back and forth between them, and I was like, I can't remember, did I put it on Wolf or did I put it's annoying. It's just like a level there. So it's like, either lock it to the character and assign it to that and put that little character's icon on that, and that's like me making that choice and saying, hey, this is who I'm dedicating this one to, or just let us do it. let us move along between everything.
Yeah, they've definitely, like, they've sort of flipped the problematic part of the system. So before, the problematic part of the system was the activity, and the artifact actual system itself was actually quite good. It was just elemental factor that was the limiting part. But now the artifact system is actually the problematic one because of the levels and like the swapping between characters, and the activity is the good part. So it's, and I will say they've probably taken inspiration from other gachas with this system, because the way it is now, not necessarily with the levels being locked, but with the whole, you only have, if an artifact exists, it exists as a single piece, and you have to swap it between characters. That is a concept in basically every gacha game that you play. It is like that. You get one artifact, it is one piece, you have to swap it between the characters if you want to use it on a different character. So I think that's probably why they've done it in the way that they have. But I think the main change I would like to see, because I'm more used to that system, I don't mind too much about swapping between characters and stuff, because often you're going to want different roles for different characters as well. So, but the main thing I want to see is just that level cap needs to go. They need to be able to let you boost that from 70 to 80 to 90, because it will just ease the time investment for so many people if you're able to do that.
Yeah, especially returning players, right? Like when you're in a live service game and you're trying to tempt people to come back, and it's like, well, I spent hundreds of hours back in the day grinding all this, and you're like, what? You know, if someone listening to this says like, oh, you know, I want to see or hear in a long form format, how is the new season? And they hear you say that, and like, well, I spent hundreds of hours. I'm not doing that again. I can't blame them. I can't blame them one bit for not wanting to do
like,
that.
Again, I just want to make it clear that, like, if you have level 80 artifacts, they will still be usable. I still have level 80 artifacts on most of my characters. I haven't bothered finding to 90 yet.
Sure. Do you know what the actual like power change is there? Like what the
I think it basically just increases like the sort of cap, because you know how like you would refactor the artifact and boost the stats on it. I think it basically just increases the cap that you can do that to. So like my artifacts, I think at 80, I think generally you're going to sort of cap out at around 3,000 ish on your artifact power. Whereas I've seen people with like really, really juiced artifacts on level 90, and they're like close to 4,000.
Wow.
Which, that's the difference basically. But
yeah. They've also reworked the artifact refactoring system too, right? It is no longer a random chance. It's you pay
You pay
Am I
it goes
correct
up.
in that thinking? And it just goes up.
Yeah. So they've also set it so you can do it automatically as well. So you press the auto button, and you press go, and you just watch it like tick up and up and up and up.
Little dangerous.
It is dangerous. It is dangerous.
I spent
you can quickly find yourself running out of materials.
I spent a lot of materials, but I mean, I knew what was happening, and it felt real good when I did it. But it kind of felt like that slot machine thing, even though there was no risk to it. It was all reward. And it was like, hey, do you just want to give us your money? Like, that's basically what it felt like. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, what's crazy too is like this whole thing, like they did the entire marketing rollout for the season was like, us, what we were wishing for. So wishing away the Pinnacle system and stuff like that. I sure as hell wished that it would just, hey, let me just put in materials and immediately have this go up, and then have the gambling factor be like, how much is it going to go up? Is it going to go up by 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever it would be? Like, I for sure wished for that at some point, but it is dangerous, right? Like, just because, not dangerous in a bad sense, but like if you just want to, if you're trying to level out, like I find myself when I'm playing a new character for the first time, maybe I just want to like bring all of the artifacts that I'm using up a certain amount. But it's super easy. If you put that auto on, you can like send that one artifact, and then you got like some that are sitting in the 100s, like for whatever their individual pieces. I'm like, that feels bad. I shouldn't have done that. So
just be careful. Be careful out there.
Just be careful, dude. The other thing too that's crazy is like I don't have enough glimmer. I'm
so broke. I had like maybe 3 mil in reserve, maybe slightly more. It's all gone, man. It's all gone. I'm like 10K.
Where's the best place to get glimmer in the game? Like,
I honestly couldn't even tell you. I think it's just do stuff and hope it goes up. Basically,
yeah, because like there's sometimes where I'll see an actual glimmer like box pop up on the screen and say like, here's 30,000. What, like I know public events, like baseline public events are 30,000 glimmer, and then I think it's 60 if you do heroic version. But outside of that, I feel like I don't really do a ton of public events inside of this game, but I've had so much. So like there has to be, like you were saying, kind of like in the background, you're getting these benefits, but I'm like, I don't know exactly where the best way. So yeah, if someone knows, let us know, because I am absolutely glimmer poor.
I can't say it's the best way, but I'm pretty sure like just if you farm the legendary campaign missions, those are pretty good for most materials. Like if you're wanting the exotic refinement things for your weapons, obviously those are the best thing to farm for that. But I think you also get a good amount of glimmer from those. So I think if people are like unsure, maybe just try doing that for a bit. But yeah, don't take my word for it as that being like the most efficient way, because I'm sure there's other ways.
I saw one of the vendor, I think the Jiangxi Metro vendor, the one that takes your planetary material, she is also starting to sell. And then I saw that you can also get glimmer from the seasonal currency as well, like the green coins or whatever. So like they are understanding that like you're going to be spending a lot of glimmer, but like it doesn't seem like they're just handing it over, which is fine. I mean, it's another thing to have to do there. So, okay. The next question, and this is actually something that I wanted to bring up, is a new thing that has come into the game is this Operation Cordon, whatever it is. What can you remind me? I can't remember the name of the system that it has replaced.
So it is the full replacement for what was Calamity Ops.
That's right.
Which was the weekly, like reset, strike GM type system thing where you would like get a score based on how fast you did the activity. And I'm actually a decent fan of how they've done it this time. So they've kind of grouped tiers into like sort of 10,000-ish power bracket levels. So there's like, you can do the first 2 levels if you're at 67,000, and you can do the level 3 and 4 if you're at 77,000, and then 5 and 6 is like 87,000 or whatever. It basically goes up like pretty aggressively as you go through the levels. But they've added a system where you can add modifiers to your run at the start to increase your score multiplier. And whereas the previous Calamity Ops system was in very, very, very tied to, it was essentially a speed run leaderboard every week. It was do this as fast as you can, because the multiplier that you had would like slowly tick down, right, as you ran through it. Do it as fast as you can to get the highest score possible. And now they've changed it so the score is a lot more determined by the modifiers you choose and whether or not you can complete it in the time that it's set, rather than how fast you finish it to determine how much score you get, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So it's a lot more similar to a Destiny GM in that sense. Like, because obviously in a Destiny GM, once you hit a certain amount of time, the multiplier hits to 0, right? And then you couldn't get any more score. Or like a portal activity in the current game, similar, where if you run out of time, the score runs out, you can't get that A rank or whatever for your rewards. So it functions a lot more like that now, which I think is good because it stops it from being basically a speedrun sim every week, and you only have the people who have invested actual money in their characters at the top of the leaderboard. Now it's something that's a bit more accessible. You can kind of play it at the level that your characters are. And I think, it's just a bit less, it feels a bit less grindy, which I think is good because, if more people play it, it's better as an activity overall, I think.
Is there a competitive nature between yourself and other people? Like, is there a scoreboard, leaderboard?
Yeah, there's a leaderboard.
With this?
There's a leaderboard, yeah. But from what I saw when I checked it before, it's not a speedrun leaderboard per se. It's more like a level leaderboard. So I think currently it says like just the stage that you've cleared as like the leaderboard, basically. So I think the top people, even though it's like over 100,000 power, people have gone in under-leveled and managed to beat stage 10, which is like the current highest I've seen on Europe at least.
Does a lack of level or lack of placement on that leaderboard, does that equate to lesser rewards?
I don't think so. Okay. No, I think
that was one issue that I had. Like, I understood what they were trying to incentivize, and it did work. Like, I played through quite a bit of Calamity Ops trying to get the clusters, things like that. But it did feel bad at times where even if you were mismatched with some of your teammates, right? Like, their goals, what they were trying to hit were different than what you were trying to hit as far as your accomplishment, what the score ranking you needed to get to. So it's like, well, help me spend some of your attempts this week on me, and then I'll try to do that for you. I'm like, it just kind of felt like a weird system, and this does sound like
they've done away with like the whole attempts thing as well. You can just do it as much as you want, as far as I can tell. So
yeah, it seems like a whole, like, top to bottom better system there. Another system I have not personally, I hadn't done anything with that piece of the game yet. Something else that I've not really dove into yet, but I'm hoping that you may have a little more insight into, is this new weapon tiering system that they've implemented. So do you feel comfortable? How much have you implemented or like touched this system, and like there's stars everywhere and rankings and upgrades and all kinds of stuff? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So I think it's how they are time gating power with the phases of the season.
Okay.
So currently we're in phase, I think we might have just hit phase 3. So now you can increase your weapons to 3 stars out of 5. And you can basically, every phase that progresses will unlock a further star that you're able to upgrade to. Basically, it's just capping your power of your weapons until the point where, and your artifacts, until the point where you can then boost them further up. And I think the star tiers are actually exclusive to like the power brackets as well. So like 75 stars is not the same as 80. It's like 75 stars, and then you go up to 80, and then it's back to 1 star.
Yeah.
And then you do 85 stars, and then it's up to 90, and then it's down to 1 star again. So it basically is just like a progression thing that's time gated.
Okay.
But I think the only ones that are actually time gated,
95-star mark to be like the strongest version.
Yes,
of
exactly.
Your
I think the only ones that are actually time gated are the 90 stars, because I think all the 80 ones you can just burn through ideally you don't want to be investing in upgrading your star tiers before you're at level 90 unless it requires you to, which I actually can't remember if it does or not.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's like with both of us, like, getting back into the game, it's like there's probably gonna be some stuff where it's like come back in a week or two and like look back at this and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I felt that way too, because when I was seeing that I think I had done what you just said I shouldn't do, which was put a little bit of money, put a little bit of currency into this weapon that was a nice thing, but whether it was a 70 or an 80 level, and then get that up to 5 stars, and then like, oh, well, I got this material now, I can take it up to 90, and then it's like, well, it's going to reduce it back down. I'm like, okay, so did I just waste everything? Because even with some of the artifact like shenanigans you can do, sometimes they'll refund you some of your materials. And I don't know that there's anything like that that's happening with the weapons. I don't think
I would have to double check. I don't want to spread any misinformation, but
Sure.
yeah, I think it works some similarly to that. I can't imagine it would be too much different from the artifact system.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just trying to race through the ranks there. And then do you know, so I know obviously we're looking still for like double mythic perks on there. I saw something, I don't know if it was real or not, but it was some sort of like shiny version of like a perk. Like, is that a real thing that's in the game?
Yeah, they've changed the perk system as well. So before you had like the perks on the gun, and then if you had the exotic mod in the slot for like the origin trait, the perk 1 and perk 2, it would like upgrade the perk, right? Now upgraded perks are tied to like copies of that perk. So basically what you can do is when a weapon drops, it will have a random number on new weapons, by the way. This is because old weapons, they're all, I think, if you had them like level 5. So basically until you get the new weapons leveled up appropriately enough, the old weapons are probably still going to be slightly stronger just because of the nature of the perk levels. But basically what you can do now is there's if you look at the top when you're on a weapon, there's a tab that says Forge Perks. And what you can do is if you have a gun with a perk level and then another gun with the same perk level, you can then like sort of use up one of them to boost the level of one of the other guns, basically.
Gotcha.
So if you have a hand cannon with a level 4 perk and a hand cannon with a level 4 perk, you can use up that to then boost it to level 5.
Do they both need to be the exact same perk? Like if it's
yes,
snapshot on both,
I think so. Yeah.
Like okay. Gotcha.
I think so. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, which has introduced another slightly more grindy tier to weapon farming now. And because of the changes they've made to the game, instead of it being more like you're kind of doing all the activities, you're dismantling all the weapons you're getting, and then you're focusing the engrams in your like inventory tab, and then decrypting them at the armorer. It's encouraging a lot more just play the activity, see what you get, and then use that to boost up the weapons you do have that are good.
Yeah, which is the right incentivization, right? Like that's
for Destiny
that's
players,
the
absolutely.
Yeah.
Instead of just being, I have 2,000 of this material, let's sit here and roll to see how many tries it takes to get the perks I want.
That's exactly what that's exactly what my existence was in the game, right? Like I would come on these podcasts and I would sit down with someone, they tell me like, hey, this is the role you want on whatever X, Y, and Z, and then I get in there and I do exactly what you just said. Dismantle anything that only had one or none, no mythic perks on it. Get that, put it together. Oh, I only get 30 attempts this week. Oh, didn't get it. Guess I'm done for the week. Turn around and do that. Whereas with this, it's like, hey, this is a really good weapon. I really like it. I can feel good about investing into this, but then also playing and trying to like bolster it from the back end, if that makes sense. Instead of always forward thinking like, hey, when is the next one going to drop? It's like, well, I can enjoy the weapon I have now, and then even enhance it more if I get more of them to drop. I think that's a better system overall. So I'm looking forward to kind of investing more time into that personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think people might be like put off by it at first, maybe just because it's different and it probably feels harder to get what you want compared to how it used to. But I think it's good for the health of the game in terms of you are going to be playing more activities and you're not just sat there at the armorsmith rolling for the stuff you want. I think even though it feels bad initially, I think people will probably warm up to it.
And there's focusing too. Like I've seen that there's like mythic weapon focusing for certain activities now. Like I've seen that you can slot them on, before you go in there. So I don't think it's definitely like a guaranteed situation, but I think it's something that, as you're getting into the grind of it, I think you can kind of focus farm some different things a little more strategically than we were before, which was just go in there, get the weapons, break them down, and then turn them into another like Gamba situation where we're just, trying to hit that.
Yeah. They've changed how the focusing system works in like your inventory tab as well a bit. So instead of it just being like one engram that you pull for now that you then select what you want, they've like separated, how like all the weapons have like the foundry, and then like they've also now separated them into foundries and then also into like series, because like obviously they release the weapons in like waves, right, with updates.
Yeah.
So instead of it being like, oh, you get one engram, you pick the weapon you want and you roll on that weapon, you now have like foundry specific engrams that you can focus and still roll on, but they drop random rewards. So of the 4 guns in the engram, it could be any of them, which will, it's still a good investment for if you're focusing for a specific gun that you want, but you just don't have that guarantee anymore.
Gotcha.
Like you used to.
One thing this is the last thing I wanted to talk about that I, off the top of my head, I could remember had changed since I stepped away from the game. So the compression of the 4 servers into 2, right? The global servers into 2. And that was something that I think I had just as I was going away, they kind of were playing around with that, bringing everything together, or not everything together, obviously. I wanted to bring up to you, like, do you think that it's time for them to merge every server together? Like, I know that logistically that'd be fantastic for players, like for us to be able to do that. But like, what do you think that the whole like mobile platforming thing, like we were talking earlier, could that be holding them back from that? Or do you think that it's a worthy thing, even if we see more rubber banding, more lagging, more, issues with that, maybe communication issues on that front? Do you think that those are worthy, or I guess what's your take on continuing to compress the server stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely possible, right? Like we've seen it done in Destiny 2, right? Like obviously Bungie have probably more resources at their disposal than the little subsection of NetEase that makes Destiny Rising does. But it is possible to do. But like you say, I think it might be limited by the mobile factor for now. But I think they have expressed that like it's something they're open to, and if like resources allowed, they would like to do it in the future. So I think it's definitely something would be good for the game if it could happen, because being separated, NA in Europe in particular is often pretty annoying. With someone who has like a lot of friends in the US who play Destiny as well as Europe, and equally like NA people being separated from their European friends unless they want to play on high ping and play on the NA server,
Sure.
So it's definitely something that'd be beneficial, but it's just whether they have the resources to do it.
I struggle sometimes thinking about like that individual that's playing like in rural China on a mobile phone or something like that. And I have no reason to assume like they may have great cellular connection. There could be someone rural America that's trying to play with someone like with fiber internet in China or something like that. And the frustration that they could feel, like you get linked up with that. I think it is the nature of just being, we don't have a ton of situations where even with, Steam Deck and different things of that sort, not many of those mobile games are handheld viable, right? Like I know Bungie, they don't let their anti-cheat, like you just can't even really run it. You're not supposed to run it on like a Steam Deck because it has the Linux operating system, and that you can run it on just the normal Windows things, but you're adding these layers of latency and just complication in some ways. And I wonder if it's something where, because they did it when they did the compression, they did it by like basically regions and just saying like, well, these are the people that are closest to each other. And I have to just wonder, it's like the true nature of like, we legitimately cannot make a good game experience with people who are mobile. If we're taking this mobile first perspective and saying this person on their iPhone, whatever iPhone 7 in the middle of nowhere, and then over here we have this person who's emulating, but they're on fiber internet in China, and we have this person over here. that is a unique issue that even, I guess, with the PC side of things, like I think the PC networking for a game like Destiny 2 or just anything that is native on a PC platform, that almost like raises that network assumption, right? Like the assumption of what kind of speed you're going to have, what kind of connectivity you're going to have, the stability of your network. And so there's definitely some players that you get in and you're playing, you're like, damn, dude, how slow's your Wi-Fi right now? Like, even if you're playing D2 or something like that, because you're like, can you plug in a cable or something? Because you're all over the map. But I do think it's an interesting thing, and it could bolster some of these queue times, the things you were talking about earlier, like when they put in these different raid-like activities, and then you can't find teams for them, or you can't find people to play, or depending on what time you're available to play, you have more options across the world. And I do think it would be best for the game. I just wonder what those conversations are really like on the back end, like from a technical perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a unique challenge for sure. I think it's just something that we'll have to see in time how they manage to navigate it.
Yeah. Okay. The last thing I wanted to touch on here, these are things that actually came to the game and then they left, or they came to the game and left since I stopped playing, or they have just come and they've had changes to them in themselves. So first thing we talked about was Crota's Inn. However, the mythic weapons were added to the loot pool. So you can still get the mythic weapons. You just can't unlock Symmetry, which was tied directly to the raid, like you mentioned earlier. And so we've already talked a bit about that. The tower defense mode, I played it a time or two. I didn't have a ton of interest, even though I do appreciate the variety of content, like their attempt to go over there and say, hey, we've heard you guys say that you don't want everything to just be like a speedrun blitz, so we're going to try this tower defense piece. How did that game mode hit for you, and like how do you feel about it not actually being in the game anymore?
So I actually think it was quite good. They made some changes to it sort of halfway through its lifespan, because people were getting like to wave sort of 80, 90, 100 as far as they wanted, really, with the setups that they had. And they made a change to the enemies to basically make them ramp kind of exponentially, like as you got through it. And then basically after that, I don't think you ever really saw anyone get past like sort of wave 25-ish, 26-ish,
really?
something like that.
Interesting.
But it was, I think it was one of those things where once you knew how it worked, it was a bit more of a chore, because the rewards were really good. You got like 5 loot chests at the end if you got to wave 15. But the meta, as it were, for it was very much build the same thing every time you go in, no matter what, and then wait until the end of the activity, basically, and just watch all the towers destroy everything. So I think they just need to I think if they bring it back, they should balance it a little better. Just make some of the towers that weren't as good this time around better next time, sorry. Because there was a very clear meta emerged.
I gotcha.
And it was fun. It was fun while you were sort of figuring it out and experimenting, getting your ass beat by like wave 4, and you were just like, what am I doing wrong? And then you would look into it and realize, oh, I could do this and this and this, and then you have a much better time with it. But I do think it was a cool game mode. It was definitely something that should be celebrated as an idea that they brought into the game.
For sure. We ask for new stuff, and I like, whether it's core Destiny, whether it's Destiny Rising, just insert whatever your favorite game is. Like, we ask the devs for new stuff. Like you nailed it on the head how you said it. It's like we need to celebrate when they give us the new stuff. Let them know critically the feedback, like the positive or the negative, and then like let's meet somewhere in the middle, right, between game limitations and how they want players to actually experience it, and then how players want to experience it. Like, because those are going to be wildly different things. We want it, like I said earlier, I'm going to wish for artifact refactoring until like Kingdom Come. Should that be exactly how it is? I don't know, but that's how it is now. And so, they've given in there, but there's other places, right? Like where they're like, well, you're going to have to re-grind all these artifacts out. It's like, okay, well, we've met in the middle, and that's kind of where we find ourselves. So I think that, like you said, we got to celebrate the times when they give us something. Like if you're directly calling for change and they give you that change, even if you don't like it, you need to talk about the good, the bad, and hopefully come out better on the other side. The last thing that went away, and I said this earlier, but we had native draws for Jaren and Kabr's refresh, right? Like into the game. And I was thinking about that because I actually personally, I did log in to pull at least one copy of those characters like while they were there. That's the only real time that I kind of had logged in. I didn't do any kind of story questing, really like anything with them. It just, they exist on my roster now. But I was thinking through the lens of like, what would it actually look like for someone who didn't? Like they completely tapped out in doing that. Well, now they have added a new free method to unlock characters, which is, I guess I shouldn't put quotations around free. It is free. Like you can do them by free, but it's not as simple as it seems, as with everything. So you collect 40 crystals throughout the season to get a free character at the end of the season. And this is just through the completion of various seasonal activities, things that you would probably be doing, but some things you might be overlooking. I saw some of these elemental crystals can come from things like doing your casual activities every week, like hitting those the ends of those tracks. How are you feeling about that? Like, how do you feel about this new implementation? Them kind of touting like, oh, you were getting away from draws. It's like, are we really? And where do you sit with that?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I think the whole allowing people to get a free copy of a character is always good. I do think that the system functions quite slowly if you are going free to play with it. You're sort of getting like 2 essence here and 3 over there and then 1. So it can feel really slow if you're trying to like actively pursue one character. It's also a bit random depending on what you're doing. Like which characters drop on the essences. And I think at the end of the day as well, people might get a bit frustrated with the system just because you have to wait, right? Like it's not you get 40 essence, you get the character immediately. It's you have to wait until the end of the season to get the character, which will definitely like sort of, in an essence, you might be missing the sort of content that's designed for that character, because they tend to do that in these games. They'll release a character and then they'll release content that character is good for at the same time. So if you're having to wait until the end of the season, if there isn't stuff like that in the next season, you're going to feel like you've missed out. Even though you have this cool character now, it doesn't feel as good if you can't use them in activities that were designed for them,
Yeah, because not to cut you off, but like my thought is, because I just agree so much with what you said, is like, presumably the decision you're making on what character you're going after is going to be tied to, like what the hotness is right now, right? Like, it's like, okay, well, I'm seeing that teams are clearing, with Estella, like with ease or whatever, and the new raid, and like, okay, well, I didn't play when Estella was in, so like, let's do this. And then all of a sudden they're dropping something new the next time. It almost seems like these shards or whatever they're called, they need to be like character agnostic and just let you form. And then once you get 40 of them, you can choose which character you want to put them to. Whereas right now they're all tied to that.
So
right?
there is a universal essence.
Oh, is there? Okay.
That is that can go towards any of them. But I think it's a lot rarer to come by because of that. So yeah. And I think on the topic of the draws as well, like the draws are still in the game exactly the same as they were. That's still probably going to be the primary way you're getting characters, just because of the speed, like the amount of time it takes to get these. Sure. I think they're called elemental condensates together for these characters. If you still want to spend money, you can, but you're going to have to wait if you're not, basically.
Yeah. How are you feeling about the value or the amount of Lumina leaves that are coming in, like, and the actual like amount of cost to playing the game and staying up with the game, right? Like, are you feeling like they've found a good, in comparison to other gachas? Maybe like you could even compare with that.
Yeah.
Like, how are you feeling with everything?
In comparison to other gacha games, I think it's definitely on the better end. Some of these games can be really slow and like kind of almost a bit predatory with your money. But you can definitely stay up to date with Destiny Rising if you want to be free to play, especially if they keep doing these events for like they did for Cabr and Ikora. where they sort of give you a bunch of free draws if you just play the game properly.
Sure.
I think that's a really good system. And obviously, I think those events were mostly designed around the fact that Kabr and Ikora are like 5-star upgrades of 4-star characters, and they're going into the standard pool when those events end. So I don't know if you noticed, but Kabr is now in the like standard draw pool, and Ikora, when her event ends, will also be in that pool.
Okay. I think I did see that Cabr was in there. I wasn't sure what they were going to do with Ikora. So that I guess that does make sense though, that they would handle it that way.
But for the premium characters, it's kind of still the same old story. So like with Aphrodite, she's a classic premium character, as you would call. Gotcha. Like she'll be here for a month or whatever and then gone. So yeah, if you want to spend money, you can.
Yeah, but it seems like they have, and that it was odd to me, being from the outside looking in. It seems like Rising is less like predatory or less like money grabby than some, like maybe a lot of other gacha games. Like that's kind of the sense I got, and I was like, hold on, that's an issue? Like there were some people that were raising it as that was an issue, that you didn't have more places where you could spend money to actually like bring your characters out. I don't know if it was just because they're like, I just don't want to grind the game. Like I just want to, I want to be able to buy everything that's in there and stuff. But it was such a foreign conversation to me.
Yeah, I mean, like, some people are just like that. I think the good news for those people is that the elemental condensate system, obviously there's the 40 to get the character, but there's now a system called Character Ascension where you can continue to spend elemental condensate on a character that you already own to give them just a flat numbers buff to one of their things. It might be like, I think Ikora's is like, she just does 8% more void damage at level 1 or something. And then if you ascend it to tier 5, it's like now 15% or something. It's like tiny increases, but if you want to boost your characters more, you can. And the good part is you can spend money on that. So if you want to just drop a ridiculous amount of money and boost your Ikora to whatever, you can. But yeah, I think the thing that Destiny Rising has going for it as well on the draw front is they keep their characters around for a lot longer than a lot of other gachas do. So most gachas that I've played, a character banner will start, it will be max 3 weeks. And then you have 3 weeks to pull your character to earn the equivalent Lumia leaves to spend on the pulls for that character. And then once those 3 weeks are up, that's it, they're gone. Whereas with Destiny Rising, you often have like these sort of 50, 60-day banners, sometimes even longer, where you can keep playing the game, and it just gives you that little bit of extra buffer to earn the materials you want to pull for them with, and also to make a decision about whether you do want to spend any money on them if you do want to spend money, which I think works in its favor, for sure.
It seems like there's been quite a few places where they've parted from normal gacha norms for Rising. Like they, just in that instance, right, where you're saying, hey, this is usually like more limited. In this fact, I've had people tell me in the past, well, you just can't spend as much money as you could in other games, like, and really pour into doing that. Do you think that is actually to the game's benefit, or do you think that they should have leaned a little more into what it's almost like leaning more into the tried and true method of things?
I think it's an interesting question, because they have to find a middle ground somewhere due to the nature of the game, right? Because it's a Destiny game, you're going to be pulling Destiny people, and you're going to be pulling some of the gacha crowd too. But if they lean too heavily on the not spending money side, you are going to disincentivize the gacha people. And if you push too heavily on the gacha side, you're going to disincentivize the Destiny people, because it's not something they're used to, or it's a system. It's something that they're not used to spending that much money, right, to progress in a game. So I feel like the middle ground they found is actually pretty fair. I think it's good. I wouldn't change too much about it as it stands. And to be honest, I think people just need to suck it up. Like, if you're mad you can't spend more money in a game, like, come on, man.
Yeah, it just seems like even aside from the dollars and cents of it, or whatever you want to say, it seems like there are plenty of times where like, oh well, they do this different, like this is how works in Genshin, or this is how this works in Wuthering Waves, or whatever the game may be, right? Like leaning And I have to wonder, because the reason I frame it like that is Destiny 2 doesn't have anyone or any game to compare itself to. Like, there's a lot of games that come up that are the Destiny killers. They're the games that people say are going to derail, but the only game that has proven to kill Destiny is Destiny. Like, you know, like it's from the killers inside the house. It's not coming from an external source. And so with that, I've mentioned that with Marathon coverage recently, we're saying, like, I have always hoped that Marathon and Arc Raiders and even Tarkov, from that extent, like, they would push each other forward, right? Like, they can learn from each other. Destiny 2 hasn't really had that, or Destiny proper between D1 and D2. They've not really had a competitor to push them forward, but Destiny Rising seems primed to, you know, they have so many other competitors that are in this space. Sometimes it's felt to me, as someone who's a little ignorant to the gacha mechanics of everything, or just the feeling of the space, it feels like they almost have just, I don't know if it's this agreement that they have with Bungie, or like how they're going to handle the IP and how they're going to try to avoid money grabbing or things of this sort. It almost seems like the age-old conversation of, like, who are they actually catering to? Are they actually catering to the gacha crowd or the Destiny crowd? Because we know very well, if you try to please everyone, you're going to please no one, right? And you do these things.
Exactly.
So I guess that's where the heart of my question comes from. It's like, do you feel, as someone who enjoys both Destiny very clearly and gacha games very clearly, like, do you feel like they're kind of still struggling with this mistaken, or this, like, misplaced identity piece?
Honestly, I don't think it's too bad. I think they're in a good place. I think there's definitely, if they keep going in this way with the content, I think they're going to keep attracting Destiny people. I think just off the Great Hunt raid race alone, that's going to get Destiny people that weren't at all bothered with the game watching that raid race. If that's going to get people to play the next one, I guarantee it. Which is amazing. And then, yeah, I think the gacha stuff, yes, it's like, it's hard to balance it, but I can't complain about the way it is right now compared to some stuff. I think it's absolutely fine.
Okay. Well, talking about people being tempted into the raid race, we've talked a lot. There's a lot in this podcast, so, man, I appreciate you for buckling in and hanging out with me, because there's been so much that's changed. There's a whole, like, other like Eminair system that's in there too, with lines connecting and nodes and stars and stuff. And guys, I'm sorry, but I'm just not equipped to even really talk about it. I've slotted a couple characters in. I don't even know what it is. So let me know if you guys want a breakdown of that, maybe, or if you know someone who's really, really intelligent with that. And if the viewership on this episode is good enough, maybe we'll have to do another one to break that down. So, but let's talk now. Also, if you're still here, would you like and subscribe to the channel? Appreciate you. Let's talk now about the world's first race. And I want to actually get into some of the nuance around it, because this will probably be something that I break out of this episode, because I don't want to have to make someone wait till an hour and 25 minutes in to talk about this. So, like, let's I even want to, like, reframe and be like, okay, all right, we finished the first part. Let's talk this here. World's first Great Hunt race. We get in there, like you said, you felt that the fanfare around the Crota release was not as high, right? Like, was not as big. I felt like the Eclipse raid race actually had quite a bit of juice to it. It felt like people were really, really interested. I know I was. I wasn't in it, but I was watching, and it seemed like there were a lot of people interested. And then it was almost like they either heard Crota again, or they didn't even know that it was happening. And from that, but you guys went third place in Eclipse, second in Crota, and then finally you've come out on top here with the Great Hunt. Talk to me a little bit about that progression there. Like, how has your team refined over time? What have you learned about these rising raids as they're coming out in contest mode experiences?
It's a good question. So I think our team has only had, like, one member change since the first raid. So in the first raid we had 6 people, and then in the Crota and this raid we just changed out one of those people for a different person, who's been with us for the Crota and the Great Hunt. I'm like, So what have you learned about, like,
building a team for the, what are the learnings that you've taken away now that you have 3 contest mode rising raid experiences, like in your building of the team? So even if everyone stayed the same, like what considerations are you making with the characters that you're bringing in, like as you're prepping for that? And, what are you learning from what NetEase is bringing to the table, right? Like with these raids and the expectations you're setting for yourself as you go into them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectations are just like now. I mean, after this raid, literally anything's possible, man. Like we've got a giant Ahamkara jumping over our heads and destroying us. They can pull that off. Like, who knows what cool stuff they can kind of put together.
Sure.
In terms of characters for the raid, it's honestly, it's a lot of Destiny 2 experience just being refined into a Destiny Rising setting. You are always going to be better off running consistency and like safety than going all out, if that makes sense. Because like for a day one setting, you always need to have like a good balance of, more like enough wells, enough supportive like guns and stuff, versus like just running like all damage supers or whatever, right? It's not too dissimilar in Rising. So for most of this raid race, we were running predominantly 2 characters. We were running Helhest and Estella, and that was basically it. Because Estella, the main strength of Estella, and the reason we ran her so much, I think for the last 2 encounters, we ran 4 copies of Estella the whole time, is her lack of reliance on her weapons for damage. So her dragons do so much damage and her summons, that it basically means you are not restricted by your heavy ammo during a damage phase. So obviously it's still good to go into a damage phase with ammo for your LMG, but if you have to shoot him with your primary, it's not that much of a disaster compared to like, I don't know, if you're playing, trying to think of an example, like Jaren, and you go in without any shotgun ammo.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be doing way less damage on Jaren if you do that, versus Estella, who's got her dragon, she's got her summons. As long as you're hitting the boss, you're generating more summons, your damage is still going to be high. And just having that sort of guarantee, it's like that whole thing of like guaranteeing a 2-phase rather than pushing for a 1-phase and failing,
Yeah.
That's the main concept behind running so many Estellas. And again, Helhest we ran because Helhest is just broken. She's one of the best characters in the game. And
I think it's hard. I think it's hard to say that anyone would be considered the best character in the game beyond. Like, I think it's Helhest is so high above, and it's insane to me because I don't even know that I fully comprehend how she reaches the height she does. But it's like you say like rising tides raises all ships. She is a rising ocean. Like, she brings every single character who's in the same zip code as her up with her drones and everything that's happening. The generation of heavy ammo, I cannot believe how strong that character is, and it just exists in the game.
She has essentially neutralized Tan as a viable character, like, at all, because she heals while damage boosting, which Tan can't do. He can only do one of the two at the same time. Yeah. And on top of that, her damage bonus is just higher. So what gives?
Like, hey, you're out of heavy ammo? Let me just generate that heavy ammo more for you right now.
Oh, yeah, and she's also got insanely high burst DPS. So, what more could you want out of a character?
The only thing she has not really going for her is the fact that she has a bow as her primary.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. That's not that much though, too, because they're still pretty strong. Like, if you know what you're doing,
and like the
new
bows,
you can get the range on it and stuff. It's crazy to me. So
the new bows that have just come out as well are much better than the bow that she currently is forced to use. So the solar one and the void one that just come out are like really a good step up in terms of power level from the previous bow.
So you personally, you were one of the Estella like players on your team, right?
Correct. Yeah.
One question I do have about Helhest, and maybe you may already know this, or you may know this even if you haven't played too much. Like, are you always just constantly trying to have one of those 2 drones on the field, like each, right? Like a healing and a damage. Is that the goal, or like do they stack? If you put like multiple damage drones out, or anything of that sort?
So the way Helhest works, I think, at least in a contest setting, when you're sort of limited to T0, you know, like basic everything, you can have one of each drone out, but then if you reuse the drone, obviously it puts a stack on your existing drone, which increases its like bonus basically. So a level 1 damage drone gives X damage boost, and then if you press it again once it's gone off cooldown, it will go up to a level 2 damage drone, and that will give you more damage boost. And it functions the same way for the heal drone. And yeah, you're basically just making sure, like, these drones last ages, man. They last like over a minute, like on the field, and they're only on like a 20-second or 30-second cooldown or something. So like you can easily have both drones active. You might not always have both drones active at level 2, but you're always going to have both drones up, and it's just about moving them around. And because not only that, the bonus sticks on you for like 20 seconds, at least the damage one does, after you exit the drone field. So you don't even have to be in the drone field. You just have to jump back and like refresh it and then leave again, and you'll have it for 20 more seconds. So it's just so disgusting.
So is the literal only downside of Helhest that she has a bow in her primary slot? Like, what?
No, literally.
It's insane, dude. It's crazy to me how strong she is as a character. And then, like I said, just makes every other character viable as well. Like, you know, I don't know. It's insane. So I wanted to ask, what is your... Let's take a step back. So you said like you're making the conversation between a 1-phase and a 2-phase, right? And you're making those considerations. Obviously, the first encounter is more of a mobile, add clear puzzle encounter. But then we have this situation with the second encounter that comes up where I guess maybe assuredly you know more about like what actually was going on, why people were struggling. Can you break that down? What was the issue with the second encounter, and how did your team overcome that?
The main issue with the second encounter was time. So sort of caretaker style, you had the boss moving from one side of the arena to the other and if she reached the other side before you had completed the objective on the opposite part of the arena, then you were dead. And the weak spots, the boss had 4 weak spots. She had one on her chest, one on each shoulder, and one on her back. And if you shot all of them out, she would stun and she would not move for like a few seconds. The main issue people were having were that they were basically just struggling to destroy all of these weak spots and stun her consistently, basically. Because not only is obviously the weak spots are a challenge to deal with, you've also then got the people who can't damage the weak spots. So you had 2 people randomly get selected at the start of each sort of cycle that could damage the weak spots, and they had like that aura around them that was like damaging. The other 4 people also have to kill everything on their side and like progress down, killing the ads as they go. And if they're not quick enough doing that, then the boss is going to reach the thing. And if you don't stun the boss is going to reach the thing. So it was a big balance of just being really efficient with like which ads we're targeting. People were really sleeping on how much damage those Centurions were doing. Like a lot of people might think it was like the big yellow bars that were doing like the most damage, like the Shinkers or whatever. It wasn't. The main threats in that encounter were the Centurions and the snipers. So we were like always focusing down these Centurions, always like just making sure we were really clean on who was doing what. And yeah, it was that, I mean, they nerfed the weak spots, right? Like not long after we cleared, they actually reduced the amount of health the weak spots had on the boss because people were struggling so much with it. And yeah, we didn't.
For context, it was literally 2 minutes after. Yeah. So you guys, the announcement of your clear happened at 4:08 p.m. Eastern. At 4:10 p.m., they put out a message that says, "Hey, we've been checking this out. We need to nerf this second encounter." And basically, it literally was 2 minutes after, which is insane to me. Yeah. That they're like, "Hey, we're gonna let the first team have to, have to face this, and you guys are gonna make it through." But then they're gonna say, "Well, let's take this down." I have to wonder if like they were taking the feedback and seeing that, and they're like, "Well, our hands are tied now." Yeah. Right, because like if you guys hadn't cleared final encounter yet, and then they released this piece, right? Like they made the second encounter easier. Can you imagine the shitstorm that would have stirred?
Yeah, that would not have felt good. That's for sure.
Yeah, had they did that and then someone came back in the final encounter. So it feels like they had that already drafted. I mean, it's a pretty long message about the nerf. They already had that locked and loaded, and they literally, like, as soon as you did that, it was like they tagged on and like, okay, now that they cleared it. So if you benefited at all from the nerf, thank this guy and his teammates because they're the ones who unlocked it for you. It's kind of like the whole Last Wish unlocking the curse and like getting everyone on all the story changes for that, but yours just happened to be a nerf to the contest mode raid there. So what was the considerations that you guys actually had to put in, because you did not benefit from any nerf or any changes to the raid, anything to anyone else who did clear, and there weren't that many people globally. There were not that many people that cleared this raid on contest mode.
No, it was hard, man.
What were the considerations that you had to in the moment, right? Like, you see this, what were the conversations you guys were having?
It was
how
like,
did you deal with that?
It's one of those things. It's like any raid progression. Like, as you progress through the encounter, right, you figure out certain aspects, you try and figure them out, and then other problems arise that you then have to tackle as well. So it was one of those things. We like figured out, we have to do all these ads, or we have to do all these weak spots. If we don't do this quickly enough, then this is going to make this suck. And the actual hardest part of that encounter wasn't even the first phase. So for some reason, I'm not sure if this was a bug or intended, but if you didn't one phase the boss and you had to do a second phase, the second phase, the boss's pathing between like where it started and like the end goal that wiped you was slightly different. It would like move through it more quickly, and the weak spots we found were taking less damage, which meant that you had to be like even more focused on shooting them with the two people that could do it to make it possible. And yeah, that we wiped to that quite a lot of times. There was multiple times where we finished the first phase, we were like, okay, cool, we got it, let's go. Second phase starts, 30 seconds and we're dead because we couldn't stop the boss quick enough from reaching the ball. A little tip that people might not know about the ball that we use to our advantage a lot in the actual race: if the boss can only wipe you if the ball is still on the podium when she reaches it. So as long as the ball is in one of your hands, in one of the player's hands, you're good. So basically, we would push it to the limit quite a lot if we were running behind, where we would basically just wait until she was about to reach the thing. Our guy who was throwing it would pick it up before he passed it along the line. And as long as it was in his hands, we could basically take, and obviously the ball had a timer on it as well. So as long as that didn't expire, we had that full then extra 12 seconds than we would have had if we'd like panicked and picked it up and then tried to throw it and failed, So yeah, that was a big challenge, was just navigating that second start of that second phase in those weak spots, because the weak spot people basically just, I think we all had to do it at some point because of how random the selection was. So I think everyone just gradually got better and better and better at it, and the ad clear got more and more consistent. We were like using Estella dragons basically every single like block of ads to make sure that we cleared them quick enough. Yeah, it was one of the most fun encounters I've done, and we've shouted at each other a lot as well, because that's how it goes.
There you go. Let me ask you this, for the Estella piece, because I've been playing more Estella ever since you told me like, hey, this is where we kind of stacked in and stuff, and wanting to do. Something I've struggled with when I'm in just like a movement or an ad clear type situation is the idea of like, is it worth trying to always stack up to that level 3 dragon before you throw it out? Or is there a benefit of having multiple level 2 dragons out on the field, like because they come back faster? Like where do you sit with that in that situation where it's taken me quite a while to actually build these stacks up, especially if you're limited to a T0, copy of her.
Absolutely. So in day one, I definitely lent more on the side of having 3 tier 2s out. And then I would basically start out getting 3 level 2 summons out, and then from there, if I was ever at a point where I felt like I could push to a 3 and replace one, I would. But as a baseline, I would always have the 3 level 2s out, because at least for my setup, I run I think it's called Warding Pact in the first slot on my artifacts, which gives me damage resistance based on how many summons I have out.
Gotcha.
So for my build specifically, it really benefited me to just have the 3 level 2s out no matter what, because it would give me the maximum amount of damage resist, versus like pushing for the level 3s, obviously, because it would just give me less stacks. So yeah, I definitely lean on the side of push out the level 2s and then replace them with 3s if you can, but it takes so much longer to build to a 3. It's just worth it.
Yeah, it really does, and that's what I've been seeing, and I think even in our original conversations when I had, we did podcasts that were specific about like Estella, like just talking about this, and we'd be in the firing range and just like talking, about it. I think it was a conversation of like trying to always push towards that 3, but I couldn't. I think we always were talking in the context of like boss damage, right, and not necessarily talking in a contest. Yeah, context.
in terms of a contest context, yeah. The 2s and then push to a 3 is always better than just pushing to a 3. In regular content, normal day-to-day stuff, always go for the 3. Always go for the 3.
Gotcha. To kind of bring the conversation around, like from your guys clear. So you said you had a lot of pulls on that second encounter. How did that compare when you guys finally got to the third encounter? You got through that. Well, actually, one last thing about the second encounter. How did you guys end up getting around the fact? Like, did you end up 2-phasing?
We did, yeah. We did.
Because I heard a lot of teams had to 1-phase to try to like actually pull it off. What do you think about that strategy?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely possible. I reckon we probably could have done it if we had a second Helhest. We basically, I think for that encounter, we were running 1 Helhest, a Jaren to deal with the Impact Shinker that spawned on the like after you finished a side with the ball, and then 4 Estellas. But I think if we ran a second Helhest, we probably could have 1-phased. I think also the boss was behaving weird in that encounter. Like it would like do the charge, and then it would like start charging, and then it would like be over here. and then it would do the same thing again, and it'd be like behind you. So it meant dealing like consistent damage wasn't always super easy. But yeah, we basically just, I think it was just an efficiency thing. Like we just did it so much. We were in there for so long that eventually we sort of got into flow state and did it.
Just had to figure it out. So how did that compare to your time spent in third encounter? I've watched a lot of third encounter, so I have that's the one I have the best understanding on, like what is actually happening in that encounter. How did that compare and contrast? Like how long did you spend on third compared to second, and what do you think about the final encounter?
I think we definitely spent a lot longer on second, compared to third. Second was a lot of like sort of those mind-numbing resets where like everything just goes wrong in the first few like minutes of an attempt, so you just have to reset or whatever. Third, it definitely took us a while to figure out. But once we sort of had the understanding about each room and what the purposes was of each of them, I don't think it took us too long to get through it. The main thing was obviously because the fun part about that encounter is you figure out the room mechanic and how to successfully sort of transfer the symbol over or whatever, and then dunk in the correct like lantern things. And then you drop down the tube, and then suddenly you're in Armageddon if you haven't been there yet, And we definitely got our like asses handed to us several times before we kind of figured out a good way of dealing with the boss. I think it was probably at least 2 or 3 times we got down there and then everyone instantly died kind of thing, And then one of our teammates got on his Sparrow, and we were like, wait, you can do that? And then he was like, yeah, I did it last run. And we were just like, and you didn't tell us?
You might want to say, that's something you might want to say. And that's a very unique thing, because we haven't had that. I don't think we've had that in Destiny since Scourge of the Past.
No, we haven't. Yeah.
So being able to kind of use our vehicles and on command and pull that out. So.
And once we figured that out, that whole part of that phase became way easier.
Oh, yeah.
and then it was just figuring out initially how to dodge after you do the tentacles phase, how you dodge like the big vortex she summons and like pulls you in. The big suck.
The big suck.
Yeah, we died to that quite a few times as well. But eventually we realized that you could just basically just drive. As soon as the last tentacle died, you could drive as far away as possible as you could from the boss, and then you would be safe because the arena was actually massive. So yeah, that's basically what ended up happening. We did that.
Did you guys ever have the issue where if your Sparrow got sucked in, and then when you go back for the second phase, you couldn't pick up the ball?
Yes, we did have that.
Yeah.
Most noticeably, actually, when we were doing our like speedrun attempts.
Gotcha.
Afterwards, we noticed that a lot. I don't think we struggled with it too much in the actual raid race, but on the actual speedruns, we definitely noticed that. It was really annoying.
How many pulls once you got to damage did it actually take? Do you remember?
Oh, once we got to damage, I think we had maybe 2 or 3 times where we got to damage, but there was literally only like one person alive.
Yeah.
And then I think after we actually did like a proper damage phase, I think it was maybe one time we did like just over half of the health, and then we wiped in like the second phase of like doing the mechanic or something.
Sure.
But I don't think it was many more, maybe like 2 or 3 more times before we like got the kill, as it were. Because you know how she's got like that health gate at like 15% or something. We pushed her to that in our clear.
Gotcha.
with our damage phase. So it was, and then it was just doing the whole mechanic thing again. I think we went into the end with like 2 or 3 reses still, so we were pretty comfortably in there.
Yeah, you were efficient by that point, because most of the teams I saw, they're like getting down there and they may be coming out of the first damage phase with like 1 or 2 revives left, and they're struggling to hit that point. One thing that I noted from watching that encounter was just like how long and how I think that there are definitely other encounters in the whole of all of Destiny raid racing, right? Like that you had to be perfect, especially with Desert Perpetual. Like there were some of the epic Desert Perpetual for sure. Like the Apopti's eyes for epic DP, like where you have to be so perfect for the entire time and not have one person mess up, and trying to do that on contests, I can't even imagine what that was like. But the turning around, this was one of those encounters, maybe even the most that applied inside of Rising, that like you had to stay perfect for so long to then get to the boss damage room. And then there felt like there was like a ton of variability that could happen, right? Like where the boss was jumping to, if you were gonna, your Sparrow's gonna act right, like you're gonna be able to get out of the suck, even though you think you're far enough away. You're not gonna get beamed down by the tentacles, and I don't know. It just felt like there were so many things to get back to damage that I could kind of see. I was watching Llama; he was streaming like 16 hours into that day and stuff, and he was just, I think it was like 4 a.m. for him, and dude, like I could just see it wearing on him. Just like it takes so long to get back to damage, and then half our team is dead every single time. It's like I mean it's certainly a piece, it's a marathon, right? Like not, it was a sprint for you guys, but for most people it was a marathon.
It didn't feel like a sprint, I could tell you that much. Like it was 6 hours almost for us. Like we cleared 5 hours and 55 minutes into the raid being released. I think it just shows, like, for Destiny people that aren't interested in the game, like this is legit, man. Like you have people who are like consistent high placers in Destiny 2 contest raids that were struggling on this. Like this is a real Destiny experience, whether you think it's like a gimmick or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like if you're into raiding, you should play this game. You should play the Destiny Rising raid races, because it's really fun. 2, it's like a taste of Destiny outside of Destiny, which doesn't really happen a lot. So yeah.
So I want to leave you with this. This is the final question I have for you on the world's first conversation, right? So we saw with Crota, there was a conversation I saw. I think it was Macdix. He had a conversation with someone in his chat from the Rising, like a Rising fan coming in and telling him, like, basically, the context behind it was Mactix was going to use someone else's account to raid for Crota.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I will still outplace you even though I'm on someone else's, like I don't play the game, all this stuff. I'll do that. He probably did. Now it is a reprise. It's the third time Crota's come in, even though there were changes. It's the best version of it. It still was the third time that came in. But it put in my mind, like it put this thought in my mind, like, is there a level to this was before Great Hunt had come out. I was like, is there really a world where we want to live in where like we have people who are whaling, and I know they turn off copies and stuff like that for characters, but like, do we want to live in a world where the top raiders from the D2 space are just coming in and taking people's accounts over, right? And then they're doing it, they're playing these, on their things and doing this. I'm like, is that where we're getting to? Like, that's what my thought was. I'm like, is that the world like we're leaning into? And then Great Hunt releases, and we see not as many people. There were not as many people coming over from D2 to play, but there was a lot of interest. Like you saw, I saw Salt had posted something. He's like, I'm having a lot of FOMO right now, like watching this race. It's actually crazy that this is a mobile game, like things like this. What do you think about the viability of these guys actually like just picking up and like maybe playing for like a day before and then being able to like compete at a high level? Because I think what you guys did proved that like, hey, you need to know how this game works. You need to know, like there was a clear sign to me that like Llama's fantastic D2 raider, like Scarrow's fantastic. Sneak, I know Sneak plays a lot, but like these guys, I'm watching their team like severely struggle for hours, and that's not a shade to them. They're fantastic raiders. It's just like it was getting late. They're having trouble pulling these things together. It didn't seem like it was translating one-to-one. What do you think about these people? Like, do you think that what would your conversation be with some of your D2 raid racing brethren who are at the top there? Like, what would you say, like, if they were asking you, like, hey, what's it take to actually compete and hit those high placements on the rising leaderboards?
So I definitely don't think it's like just dry one-to-one. Like, there is a lot of merit in being good at Destiny 2. My whole team were originally Destiny 2 raiders. I'd have done like countless day ones between us, right?
Sure.
But you can't just drop into a Rising account with like no experience and expect to clear, right? You still need to have a little bit of familiarity with the game. So like you say, like maybe a day, I feel like a day might even still not be quite enough time. Like just because you need to familiarize yourself, one, with the meta of like kind of what's good on what characters, right? Like, yeah, you can use someone else's account, like you say, but I think even if I think the reason why people struggle sometimes, right, with these types of things is, especially in like a gacha setting, is like if they're used to playing with their T6 characters all the time, they don't know how it feels when they get knocked down to T0 and they're stuck with like basically pea shooters for guns, and you still need to have a little bit of an understanding of the combat system and like what abilities do what, and you need to know how to play off your teammates and like what your teammates can do, so you know your limits, right? It still has a knowledge sort of threshold that you would need to hit, I think. And like, while you probably could just through raw mechanical skill get yourself into a pretty good position, I think you wouldn't be able to like solo carry a team or anything,
Sure.
That way. Not that you can in Destiny 2 anyway, but I think you understand my point. Like, there is still a little bit of, you still have to put in a bit of work to be able to sort of breach the top, as it were.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I'm saying the question, and then like, obviously I'm analyzing and thinking through like, how would I even answer it? Right. Like as you're answering. And it's one of those things too, where, when you told me like, hey, we stacked Estelas, and Helhest is obvious, right? Like bringing everyone up, but stacking Estelas, and the reason being that it's more ability focused rather than the being weapon focused. That actually sounds more like D2 rating, because the D2 meta has not been weapon focused in a long time, right? Like it is ability spam, like try to get as many abilities out. I mean, that's how everyone was clearing normal and epic DP, like just try to get as many supers, try to get as many things. I mean, thankfully we were able to rally between each damage phase of, final and epic, but like with stuffing in Thunderlord and just trying to get back your super as fast as possible in normal core goes, like that's the only way teams were able to pull it off. And so I think, obviously these are very, very different actual like mechanics or encounter situations, but the point remains to what you were saying, where you lean into the characters that are the most ability spam. Get out there. What can you lean that gets you away from your actual weapons being the limiting factor for you? And I think that really does. That's just a small skill gap that, yes, you could take over from the D2 rating space, but you may not understand how to do that efficiently unless you actually put your time in with the game. And so it's people like yourself. Giggs has always had high placement when it's come to the different day one. Scarrow's in there as well. These are guys, just off the top of my head, I know Sneak's playing, like you guys are all actually playing Destiny Rising as you're going through there. Yeah. Whereas I think there's some people that I would want to temper expectations for people who are like, oh, well, I've cleared contest mode raids over here, so I'll just come over here and, not really put the time in. I'm like, if you're just looking for a contest clear, you're probably going to get it. Like if you stay in there long enough, like you're probably going to get it. But if you're looking for placements, like what you guys have been chasing, like you guys have been refining, like you said, you have a team. You're treating it as what has happened over in the D2 space over the last decade, right? Yep. Where you have a team, you go in, maybe you're not spending a bunch of time practicing, but you're talking, right? Like, hey, this is what I'm going to bring in. This is what I'm considering, things of that sort. Whereas I see, like when I'm on Twitter, it's usually like day before people are like, hey, I'm looking for a team for Rising day one. It's like, okay, well, you guys will probably still clear, but how's that feel? So,
well, the thing is, I don't know that they would have for this raid. Like the amount of
that's true.
Before that nerf. I mean, even after the nerf, it still was not easy. Like, the execution they required was like pretty intense for what people would expect, I think. I mean, like you said at the start, like if you manage to clear this on a mobile device, who are you? First of all,
yeah.
Like I don't know how anyone.
Goat status right there.
Yeah, goat status, literally. It was no, but it was an amazing experience. It's also been really fun for me as well, just playing with a different team of people. Like, you've got in Destiny 2, I have like my team that I play with, right? Just like mostly American guys. Our friend above, obviously.
Yep.
And that's a really positive environment to be in. And everyone's like really reassuring with each other. We keep sort of flame to a minimum. It's very sort of mature in its like the way it functions, right? And that was really fun. We did DP and Epic DP together.
Sure.
But for Rising, like the team I'm with for Rising, it's incredibly different. It's a lot of shouting at each other. It's a lot of calling each other stupid, but it works for some reason. I think the main reason is like you just need to have like whatever team you end up building for whatever game you end up raiding in, you need to have like a mutual understanding of the type of environment it is and what you expect of each other. If you expect each other to be chilled and mature about stuff, obviously you're going to want to do that. But if you're expecting an environment where people are going to be shouting at each other, then you have to be prepared for that too. Like, I think weaker skinned people, if they listened in on our voice comms on day one, could easily have like just left out of sheer I don't want to be a part of this anymore. But like we're all thick skinned enough, and it's just part of the way we function as a group. And it's silly, but it works for us. And if you ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing too is like holding people accountable to like what they can do, right? Like some people are really good at articulating that, like getting that out. I'm like, hey, dude, you know better. Like, let's go. Like, get after it, and you can do that in a respectful way. So, like, you're effing dumbass. Like, what are you doing? Like, you know, and I guess you're saying the same thing, but in vastly different ways. So, it is very interesting to see, like, to what you say is like, there's many ways to like attack it, but as long as you find the one that everyone agrees upon, Because if you have one person or like a couple of people that I've had that happen on contest mode teams where it's like someone says something and it just hits wrong and then the vibe's gone, like it completely deflates, and then you either have to take a break or you just have to swap someone else in because it's just not going to come back anymore and do that. So, well, Antti, is there any closing thoughts on the world's first conversation, or maybe like Rising's return that you've seen here? Anything that's come to mind that you wanted to talk about that we haven't touched on today before we close?
Not really. I think I just hope they keep the momentum up. What they've produced, like this whole raid experience, the new content is really good. It's really good quality, and I think the game has the potential to have a really nice future, but they just need to keep supporting it. People need to keep playing it, obviously. But yeah, I'm just excited for the future. Excited for the next raid. Be interested to see if they do another reprised one or if they pull in another completely fresh one.
Can you imagine if they bring Wrath?
Brown. If they bring Wrath back, so many people are going to be so mad. But honestly, I think it would be like the biggest power move ever, because it would get so many people interested in the game. Dude,
what if they did a Wrath of the Machine plus PC launch, like a native PC launch, and they're like, you know what, we're into no. A guy can dream, but like like I said earlier, I think the PC iteration is perfectly fine at this point. And so I would hope that if you're here 2 hours into a Destiny Rising podcast, you're probably a dedicated player. But I'm hoping if you happen to come across this and you've been on the fence, give it a shot. They're making a ton of changes, and they really, really, I think people were a little scared that they were stepping away from the game, that they were winding it down somehow. I'm like, they wouldn't put this much time and investment into it if they were doing that. Sometimes you just need some time to cook, go quiet for a little bit and do that. So
and even if like the game, obviously it's still not perfect, right? Some of the systems are still a bit flawed, but on the for the vast majority of the game, it is far more accessible now than it used to be. And I think that can only work in its favor. So I mean, like Zach said, if you wanna give it a go, man, just do it.
Absolutely. So guys, thank you very much for hanging out with us today. Antivist, thank you very much, man, for your time. I appreciate you doing that. If you guys are not already, maybe like and subscribe here, or just leave a positive rating on whatever platform you're listening to. Until next time, be blessed.